was again kind of 2 weeks in a row, really proud of the way our guys worked. And I thought this week of preparation is always challenging when it's your first time coming off a game and having to review a game and then get into the next game and finding that routine. And as always, like I've been praising the veterans on our team, the leaders on our team for showing the way to our younger players and how to do that. And I think one good sign for us is we progressively have gotten better throughout the week of being intentional at practice, what we're trying to accomplish, understanding the whys we're doing what we're doing. And inevitably it's capped off with a really good week of work. I feel good about the state of mind that our guys are in. I think they're excited, but yet focused. And obviously we're looking forward to the opportunity.
Thanks, Coach. Guys, if you have a question, put your raised hand function up. Danny, start us off.
Steve, now that you got a chance to do it in a game and review the film, what did you like about the receiver depth and the way you were able to rotate receivers and mix and match that crew?
Yeah, I still think we're a little bit of a work in progress in that, we have one game sample size, and even at that, it was a little bit limited, just because of how the game went. But I will say it was comforting to know that I didn't have to leave guys on the field as they were getting fatigued, as you could noticeably see them getting fatigued, that we had enough confidence in the next wave or the guy behind that guy to put him on the field. And all they did was give me even more confidence, whether it was Ryan Wingo, Jonte Cook, Silas Bolden. I mean, when those guys went on the field, they made their plays. And so I think it's very comforting for us as a staff to know that we have 6 really quality receivers that can play and play at a high level. The moment never felt too big for any of them. I love kind of having cross-train Ryan Niblett because of the fact that he can do things out of the backfield and at receiver. And so it gives us a lot of versatility that way to still pour into our 21 package stuff, but also, have the ability to play in 11 and to do both those things. So, again, as we continue to grow throughout the season, I think time will tell, but going into week 2, I think the biggest thing I got out of it was just confidence in all of those guys that when they're on the field, they're going to play well.
Kirk, you're up.
Yeah, Steve, you mentioned how the opponents kind of come at you with the different attacks and you kind of prepare for. Colorado State huddling up and maybe not throwing near as much. Do you kind of deal with the same unknown with Michigan, with so many new offensive starters, a new quarterback, and Wink Martindale at defense?
Yeah, it's pretty safe to say. I'm sure, like us, they have probably spent a little bit more time on us in preparation, maybe during the off season, and have studied some different things and would like to try to attack us in all 3 phases, maybe differently. And generally speaking, you go play that first game and you have a game plan for that first game. And then they kind of had that second game plan waiting for us. And so it's going to be critical for us to identify kind of what they're trying to do. I think this game more than ever is when we could probably really get some of the usage out of the tablets on the sidelines and some of the video that we get to see. So maybe we can make those adjustments a little quicker than when you're trying to talk it through. But they've got great coaches. It's a really good staff. Sharon Moore's done it. He's been there and he knows the Michigan way. I know Wink, like I said, I've known Wink for 20 years now, and he's an excellent defensive coordinator. So they're going to have a good plan. They're very good on special teams. And so, and they got good players. And so the point is, when 2 good teams meet up, it's how do you attack one another in a way that whatever you're trying to do doesn't have holes in it, right? And that you don't get exposed anywhere until you can try to really start to, attack what's going on the field. And so, hey, we know we're going to get some new stuff, and that's why we use the adage here: trust our training. And if we can trust our training and execute early on, then we can make the proper adjustments.
Sam, go ahead.
Hey, Sark, I know coming into the season, you said you wanted to play a lot of guys early. I know you got to play a ton of guys last week. What kind of sense did you get for some of these younger and newer guys who are getting a lot of snaps? And would you like to continue to play that many guys this weekend and moving forward?
I'd love to. You know, I think that a couple things that I saw out of our younger players. I think we played 13 true freshmen this past week, and they all kind of showed their physical attributes of what we thought about them: the size, the speed, the athleticism, the willingness to be physical. Those were all definitely evident. And then we saw playmaking ability. Obviously it's easy to point to a Ryan Wingo or a Jarrett Gibson as some of the things that they did offensively, but I even go all the way to Wardell Mack with the interception at the end. We're continually trying to recruit, playmakers to go along with the skill set and a character piece that adds into it all. So I don't think any of them did anything to say we can't put them in the game. We just got to continue to try to develop them and to grow them and to keep building their confidence and to keep building our trust in them.
Eric, go ahead.
Good morning, Steve. From your vantage point, I was wondering if you could just kind of take us through how the team speed on both sides of the ball has increased from maybe year one to where you are now.
Well, I think it's probably a byproduct of, I'd say probably about three things. One is recruitability, right? We try to recruit to speed. And so as players come into our program, I'd like to think they're either fast or we think they have the ability to get faster. That's the first part, right? What are we identifying as a staff that are attributes that are important to us? Well, you guys have heard me talk at length about big humans up front. But speed on the perimeter is important to us. And so we try to identify that. Two, I think the way we train, I think Coach Becton with his background in the track world, the way that we train our players to run for speed, to be explosive, to have the ability to change directions is something that we train to in the summer. And then the third, I think, is our nutrition piece. I think that our guys really do a good job of eating right. I think they've got a great deal of trust and confidence in our nutritionists and our dietitians of getting their bodies into optimal performance shape so that they can utilize the God-given talents that they have to go along with the work that they've put in to play fast.
Dennis, you're up.
Coach, over the last couple of years, we've talked about Quinn being he rises on the big stage. Here he is as a third-year starting quarterback in your system. How big of a luxury is that, a comfort for you as he goes up against a really stout defense that he's almost an extension of you at this point?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's critical. This is a difficult environment to play in. I mean, these guys haven't won 23 in a row at home on accident. It's tough. It's a big building. It can get loud. They've got a defensive system in place that their players play a lot of confidence with. They play with a lot of swagger. You can see that on tape. But having that calming effect at quarterback, I think, is helpful for the other guys on the field. And for me, just knowing that he's going to operate the calls accordingly is comforting. Knowing that, hey, when I'm calling something, he's understanding the intent of the play call. That doesn't mean it's always going to go that way, but as long as Quinn understands the intent of the play call, generally pretty good things come out of it.
Thomas, you're up.
Coach, good morning. You mentioned Jarrett Gibson. I think he got most, if not all, of his carries in the second half. Did he do enough to kind of earn some carries in the first half, especially against a physical interior defense like Michigan?
Yeah, I mean, Jarrett's going to play for us again. When you're kind of the third on the depth chart, and we've got two really good players in front of him, it's always trying to find that right rhythm for everybody involved. And every game takes on a life of its own of the way that it's going and the rhythm of the game and the score and time of possession and amount of plays ran, so on and so forth. But we have the utmost confidence in Jarrett. I thought him getting, I think it was 10 carries last week or so, was big for him and just his own confidence. So it's when it happens, I don't exactly know when he's going to get into the game, but I know he'll play this Saturday.
Anwar, go ahead.
Good morning, Coach. Coach, you have a lot of talented freshman players, but all of them won't be able to make the trip to Ann Arbor, obviously, this weekend. So I'm curious, which guys of your freshman class will be able to make that trip? And what do you tell the guys who you have to maybe, leave behind? What's your message to them? How do you want them to stay ready and stay focused and be ready to go the following week?
Off the top of my head, I don't know exactly. It would take me too long, and I'd waste everybody's time. There's a fair amount of them. There's a lot of them going on the trip, and if they're going, they probably have a role to our success. The guys that don't go, I think in the end, in this day and age, it's like, hey, we're here to develop you to become the best player that you can be, so that you can be the best teammate you can be, so that we can be the best team that we can be. And we really preach team, because if you pour into the team, and you'll get what you deserve in the back end of it. And everybody's, when freshmen come in, they're always at different stages. And I love to use the Kelvin Banks example, because in that recruiting class, we had signed those 7 offensive linemen. 6 of them came mid-year, and Kelvin didn't come until the summer. He was number 7 that didn't come until the summer, but he was the one guy that started, as a true freshman, at left tackle. And so it's rest is history. So it's not always about, when did I get here, or how many opportunities and reps did I get? It's what did you do with the opportunity when it presented it to you, and how do you go about your business on a daily basis? And so that's what we try to instill in those guys. And like I said, some guys maybe are a little further along than others, but that doesn't mean that just because a guy doesn't go on the trip, maybe he's not going to play here. No, he's just at a different stage of his development. And I've seen plenty of guys not travel early on in their career and end up playing at the end of the season, or becoming, frontline players for us in year 2 or in year 3. And so now their journey's just getting underway.
Cedric, go ahead.
Hey, Steve, you've made no secret of your love of college football, you being a fan of it, and you've coached some of the biggest road environments. If you would, what was your OMG moment when you walked into a opposing facility and you saw the people, and as a coach at USC and also Alabama, what was your OMG moment?
Actually, my OMG moment came as a player. I was a player at BYU, and we were pretty good. I think we might have been 2-0, and we had beaten A&M in week 1. We had, I think, beaten like Arkansas State or somebody in week 2, and we went to Washington, and we went into Husky Stadium, and it was so loud that I just hadn't been in an environment that was loud like that. I ended up getting sacked, I think 7 or 8 times. We got beat, and that was our only loss that year. We went 14-1. But in that moment, there's another level in your mind. You go to, wow, there's another level of what opposing stadiums can feel like and be like. Especially when there's some hatred towards the opponent when you walk in. For whatever reason, people can generate hate in a lot of different ways. And so for me, now I've learned to relish those opportunities. There's something that I kind of relish being the villain. I kind of like going in there thinking, man, there's 100 versus 120,000, and we're the villain, and it's okay being the villain, and how do we create that that deafening silence, and how do we go about that? And that comes about by our style of play, that comes about by our execution, that comes about by sticking together, playing as one. But I love those opportunities as much as I love playing at home. I like that too, because I think you find out a lot about yourself and a lot about your team.
Go ahead, Harj.
Coach, I wanted to ask you, everybody's been talking about the freshmen and the impact that they've already been able to make. But one of those freshmen is Ryan Wingo. What did you see in Ryan Wingo that you knew that he was going to be a guy that was ready for this type of stage?
Well, I think the thing about Ryan, even throughout the recruiting process and then early on when he got here, there was a real sense of maturity about him. He's a worker. He loves football. He's humble. He knows that he is not a finished product, but yet he continues to work every day. And as he gets incremental growth and incremental success, he just continues to stack that on top of the work that he's already put in. And so, like I said, I value the humility, but I also value the work ethic, and I also value the confidence that he has in himself to go do the things that he's doing. And so he's got a great demeanor about him, and he goes about his business the right way, not only on the field, but off the field.
Josh, you're up.
Hey, Steve. With Ryan Niblett doing two positions. Can you offer some insight into maybe like what a day looks like for him? Like what percentage of practice at wide receiver, running back? Is he sitting in both meetings? I'm just curious what that looks like for him.
Yeah, I think the first thing is you have to remember he has banked reps at the wide receiver spot, right? From all of last year, all throughout spring ball, all throughout summer. And so he is very comfortable and confident at the receiver spot. I think right now we're really just trying to continue to hone in on the things at the running back position. And then when he is at wideout, it's easy for him to fall back on the training that he's had, for the last, 16, 18 months, whatever that is. But also on top of that, he's become a real player for us on special teams. And so that's a whole nother level of, where we're relying on him is in the special teams aspect. And so I love what Ryan's done. He's really changed his body composition. He's playing fast. I think last Saturday he hit over 22 miles an hour in game speed, which is flying. And we thought that about him out of high school. I think he was like a 10-4, 10-5 100-meter guy that is utilizing that speed now, and it's been effective for him, not only like I said on offense, but on special teams.
Got time for the last few questions in queue. Terry, go ahead.
Coach Sarkisian, you talk about the reverence for the game, for the opponent. We hear this from the players. I'm just curious, just because of your love for college football, do you, in your game plan, do you have any plays that maybe honor the 2005 Vince Young game, or maybe a play that will be distinctive Sarkisian, maybe a Quinn Ewers distinctive stamp on that game?
No. I just try to win, Terry. I don't know. I just try to call whatever I think might work that play. I'm not nostalgic enough. But I guess that'd be kind of nice if they made t-shirts with the play call of ours and wore them around town. I do see that about the fourth down play against SC. So
Westcott, you're up.
Yeah, how important is the screen game to the offense, and what does it do for you when it's working well? And is there maybe somebody that you like to watch to maybe pick up concepts or that you borrowed from in the past?
Yeah, no, I don't think it's a secret. We like the screen game. Again, we have an adage on offense: the more things we can do really well, we feel like the harder we are to defend. And so, if we're a really good running team, we're a really good RPO team, really good drop back pass team, we're a really good play action pass team, and if we're a really good screen team, we're a really good tempo team, whatever that is, we're trying to do as many things as we can really, really well. And we do value the screen game. And every game is different. Some games, the screen game is a real factor. In other games, maybe that's not something that we're as focused on. But it is something that I think can, create value for yourself on offense. And I know we spend time on it to be good at it. But I also know from a defensive perspective, you have to practice that when you're getting ready to play us.
Two last ones. Roger, go ahead.
Sark, the challenge of a Davis Warren who doesn't have a lot on tape, and you figure he'll get more comfortable, and then they can bring an orgy in on any play in the middle of a series, and then having to kind of adjust.
Well, I think the challenge is Davis's ability to operate their offense. There are so many things that systematically they do that are on the quarterback at the line of scrimmage. And I think that's why he's definitely, got a good head on his shoulders and can make those necessary checks and different things at the line of scrimmage, protection changes, so on and so forth. I think naturally he's probably got to be a really good competitor. You don't get to become the quarterback at Michigan without having a real competitive spirit about you. And I'm sure, you get a game under your belt and you come out with a win, you start to develop that confidence and a willingness to trust your ability to make some of those plays. And so, he'll do that, and Orgy's going to play. I think it's critical for us to recognize, when he is in the game. And I think it's going to be critical for us to recognize if they leave both of them on the field at the same time and how we're going to adjust to that, if they're on the field at the same time. So we have to be ready for things that maybe they haven't put on tape yet. And one of which being those two guys being on the field together.
Last one, Robert, go ahead.
Coach, in the Colorado State game, you had lots of players rotating in and out of offense on many different drives, and I understand that may be something you have to do against Michigan. How do you kind of keep the composure and patience of your players who have to share snaps, or one player who may catch a deep pass for a first down and then rotate off the field the very next play? What do you tell your players And how do you make them okay with maybe sharing snaps on different offensive drives?
Really simple. We just reiterate to the players, don't count your reps, make your reps count. And it's a really simple formula that way. It's not how many times you're on the field, it's what you do when you're on the field and maximizing those opportunities when they come your way. Oddly enough, Ryan Wingo and Jonte Cook didn't start in the game, but I think they might have had maybe the most yards and I think 7 catches between them, as backups in essence. And so we really don't look at them as backups. We look at them. We've got a great rotation at the receiver spot. Obviously, Matt and IB played really well for us. And the one guy who started, DeAndre Moore, didn't have a catch. And so you just don't know in our system. And so, again, we just want to make our reps count. We don't try to count our reps, and we just try to play to the best of our ability. And with this group now more than ever, we tell them to empty the tank because the next guy can go in, you can get your win back, and then we'll get you back out on the field.